Hello, how's everybody doing? I'm Los Legends, King Los on at Los Legends 44. You guys, some of you guys have seen my channel. Some of you guys have seen my videos and the things that I talk about. Mostly with substance abuse recovery, some crazy stories, things that I've been through, things that I've seen, things that I had to go through, and I've been getting asked a lot of questions. Somebody hit me up the other day and said, hey, why did you take so long to make your next video? And I said, well, there's health issues with my brother's health. He's very sick right now. I had to just take a brief little break, to just to take care of things that life sends your way sometimes, and that you don't want to deal with, but you have to deal with. And then, eventually it's just what it is. Also, my computer was messing up pretty bad, so I had to deal with that. And right now, just using whatever I can use to get the videos done for you guys. I talk about a lot of different things. I talk about drug abuse, substance abuse. I talk about crazy stories that have gone on in my life. I don't know if I mentioned it on the last video, but I was taking the RSS training, and I got certified. I passed. I got the second highest score in the class. So that's, to me, that's a big accomplishment. I can't wait to get my fingerprint clearance, so that way I can start working here as soon as possible as a peer support specialist. I do a lot of other things. I got a lot of different hustles. I got a lot of things that I do on the side, but like as of right now, that's my main goal, is that I want to start working, hopefully right here at the ARC. I appreciate everything that they did for me, all the time they took, and all the effort they put into my recovery, my addiction recovery, my sobriety, and everything. It went very well there. They're very supportive. They know what they're doing. They got a whole new thing that they're doing there. Anybody that's been there recently, you know what I'm talking about. You know that they really put everything they have into it. So yeah, that's just, kind of what's going on with me right now. I had to deal with some computer issues too, so, but I mean, it's just little things that get in the way. You guys know how life is. It's just one thing or another, and you just got to deal with it and keep moving. And sometimes you might need to ask for help through something that you're going through. You need some kind of support. Everybody needs some support and some help, no matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter. A lot of people, and I've said this before, a lot of people just want to be like, hey, you're a man, get through it. Nah, that's not how it works, man. That's how a lot of us were raised. It's wrong. We push through a lot of things on our own, and I understand that. I understand that there's things that you do have to push through and get through, and but it's nothing that none of us can't handle. Especially if you have somebody like a very dedicated group of friends, or just a small circle. That's what I like to stay with, is a small group of friends that are very dedicated to help you, and for you to help them back, of course. Recently I've been thinking a lot about a couple of things that I went through in my life years ago. It was, I want to say, at least 24 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. Not sure. It's been a while, but I just wanted to talk about an experience that I had. And I was very drug addicted and very alcohol addicted. I didn't have anywhere to go. I had burnt my bridges with my mom, and with my family, and with friends, and with everybody, and just being the person that I was before. I had to I was walking. It was in the middle of the night. It was winter time, And everybody knows, here in Tucson, it doesn't get so bad. It doesn't get really, really super cold. I mean, it can get cold, but it doesn't get too cold. And I found myself in the middle of the desert, close to where one of my brothers was staying, and I couldn't work up the courage and what I needed to go and talk to him and knock on his door and say, hey, I need some help. I was freezing. I was just in a t-shirt and jeans. I was just sitting out in the middle of nowhere, in an empty lot out in 3 Points. I was just sitting there under a mesquite tree, and I was like, man, I really need to do something. I really need to get myself in a better position or somewhere warmer or something, because it's just going to get worse and worse. So I was sitting there. It was probably about 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And so I got up and I started walking, and I seen an old abandoned mobile home, and it was just sitting there. And I mean, mind you, I was dealing with everybody talking bad about me and saying this and saying that, and maybe I deserved it, maybe it was like, hey, you need to really make a decision here, and this should be a wake-up call for you. But it wasn't. I had dope in my pocket. I had a pipe, and I had a backpack that had a couple of bottles of liquor in it. And so even being out in the middle of nowhere and freezing and stressed out, and just, I thought to myself, hey, I got cigarettes, I have weed, I have dope, I have alcohol. I'm gonna be all right. I don't need anything else from anybody. I'll be fine. And I found an old mobile home, and I didn't see no lights on. I didn't see no sign of anybody living there. And so I grabbed a couple rocks and I threw them at the mobile home really hard. And they hit the side of the mobile home. I didn't hit the glass or anything like that. I just hit the sides. And nobody came out. Nobody said anything. No lights came on, nothing. So I went up and I knocked on the door really hard and kind of stepped back and just waited to see if somebody was going to come out with a shotgun or something. I wasn't too sure what was about to happen. And nobody answered. And so I opened the door and I walked in. And it was still cold inside this mobile home, no matter, if it was inside or not. It gets freezing cold in there. And as soon as I walked in, and I had a lighter, so I flicked the lighter on. I started looking around. And I seen that there was, of course, nobody was in there. I yelled in there a couple of times, hey, anybody in here? Anybody in here? Nothing. And so about 5 minutes after I walked in, I started hearing something outside, like hitting the outside of the mobile home. And I'm like, what is that? What's going on? And I just got really quiet and started listening. And it had started raining. And I was like, wow. I was like, man, God really saved me on this one. He was like, he allowed me to find that mobile home and walk in, and and I was still really freezing cold. And I just remember sitting there on the floor and just crying, just thinking, man, I wish that I could just go to my mom's, or I wish that I could go somewhere, warmer, somewhere where I could actually, fall asleep. And the rain just got harder and harder. And I just thank God every day that I wasn't out in the middle of just with no roof, no nothing, out in the rain like that, because I probably would have gotten hypothermic and died or something. But my addicted self kept telling me, oh, you'll be all right. Everything's fine. You're gonna be all right. And it wasn't. It was far from that. And so I start kind of looking around this mobile home, and I find an old mattress, and I find some old blankets, by the grace of God. And I laid down and I covered myself, and I sat there and I was smoking weed, and I was smoking dope, and I was cracking the bottle and I was drinking, and then I'd smoke a cigarette and just, uh, all night it rained. That night it just rained, and it was still really cold, but I was way warmer than what I was when I was outside, of course. Um, I walked out of there the next morning and it was really cold, and I'm looking around to make sure that nobody's gonna pull up or anything, because when you're in your addicted mindset, you think a lot about things that aren't really gonna happen. You think they're gonna happen, and it doesn't happen. Um, so I looked around and there was nobody around, nothing. So I kind of, the next 3 nights I spent in that trailer, the next 3 nights, it rained every night. Um, I left there and I went into town, went to Tucson, and I was hanging out with some people under a tunnel, and they told me about, back then, they told me about the Gospel Rescue Mission. So I went there and I just told them, I said, hey, I have a drug problem. I'm homeless. I don't, have anywhere to go. Can I stay here? And they said, well, you got to come back at a certain time and a certain, this and that, and say um, you got to let us know that you're gonna be here, and what time you're gonna come and all that. So I did. I came and I let them know what time, I was gonna be there, and that I wasn't gonna have any drugs or anything on me, so I had to go and stash everything. And for about 3 weeks I stayed there, and I actually felt better because I wasn't messing with the drugs as much. I was trying to eat, and I was trying to get myself a little bit healthier than what I was, and it seemed to be working. And I just I ended up messing that up because I got drunk, and then I tried to go back, and they were like, dude, you're drunk, you can't. So I went and grabbed all my stuff, and I went back to the tunnels where I was staying. Well, not the tunnels, it was a little underpass. I was under there, and I just remember thinking to myself, I don't need anything else. Like, I have all my dope, I have everything. And that just goes to show you what your addicted mind lets you think and believe that is okay, and it's not. It didn't help that people were sitting there talking about me and saying all this stuff about me and putting me down and all that. All that aside, it was just a miracle that I didn't die. There was so many different ways that so many different things that could have happened. So I was under this underpass, and a couple days go by, and it starts raining again. This time the rain doesn't stop. It just started really, coming down. I grabbed everything I had because a little tiny river started running through the bottom of it right there. And then it got a little wider. It went from about 2 inches, a little tiny stream like that, to about 6 inches. And then I looked up like that, and I'm like, man, like this is gonna get worse. And it went to about 1.5 feet wide, and then 2 feet wide. And then all of a sudden I look up and I just see this big foam thing like coming towards me, and I'm like, what is that, man? And it was the water that was coming towards me. So I had to jump out of there. I took off running up the side of the little incline that was right there. I ran out of there, and I looked down, and everything just started washing through. So I had nowhere to go in the rain. I'm over there trying to find some place to, get out of the rain, and I had to go right there downtown by one of the buildings that had a covering. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just thinking, like, what led me to this point in my life? Like, before all this happened, I had 2 cars. I had a place to stay. I had people that were always over. People are always over whenever you have everything. But when I had nothing, nobody was around. There was always women in my house. There was always people there that just wanted to party and get high and do this and do that. And I kind of just took that as a life lesson, and I told myself, Everybody's always around whenever you have everything. But whenever you have nothing and you're struggling, nobody's ever around. Like, sometimes not even your family, you know? And nobody really cares or wonders where you're at. You know, they're just like, oh, well, he's somewhere, and, you know, this and this and that, or she's somewhere. You know, a lot, people don't worry about you. It's like out of sight, out of mind. You know, kind of like when you're in prison. You go in there alone. First day, last day, that's all you really remember. It's getting in and getting out. I went around, did some things that I'm not proud of, and I got some money and ended up in a motel, and then I just kind of started slinging here and there, you know what I mean, and keeping things small but adequate enough to where, you know, each month I could pay every week, you know, for the next week, whatever. And I started kind of blowing up from there and getting higher and higher and higher and higher. Then I ended up in jail, lost everything, and got out and just thought, you know, fresh start. But no matter how much I try to push for that fresh start, if you don't want it, you're not going to get it. So, people kept talking bad about me, saying, oh, you know, this and that, and he owes me this much money. And most of it was just stories. It was just stories that these people were making up and trying to make themselves look good and trying to put me down. And that's fine. You know, at first I would get into it with whoever. I'd be like, you know, hey, man, you know, you're just running your mouth. You're running your neck, dude. You just, you know, you're trying to make me look bad. And I'm the type of person that I'll come and tell you straight to your face. You know what I mean? Like, if I think that if I think that you're trying to put me down back then, you know, and it's for no reason, and it's a bunch of lies and this and that, you know what I mean? I'm going to call you out. Like, I'm going to call you out straight up, right to your face. I don't care who it is, you know. Get in front of me. Get in front of me and tell me exactly what you're telling everybody else. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, I never said that. I never said this. I never said that. It's funny whenever you get in a motherfucker's face and you're like, hey, say it. Now say it. And they don't want to. It's like a whole different thing now, right? And it's crazy. It's like the telephone game. Like, you start on one end, you know, and you start a rumor, and everybody around the room, by the time it gets over here, by the time it's over here on this side, it's a whole different story. It's a whole different thing that everybody was saying, you know. And it's kind of how it is on the streets. It's kind of how it is with people that you love. They'll even your family, they'll put you down. They'll say this, they'll say that. And then later on when you're like, hey, remember when you said this? And they're like, oh, I don't remember. I remember. You know, because they don't want to deal with what they put you through. And they try to act like they never, you know. And I'm not saying just family. I'm saying everybody. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, they don't want to own up to what they did. But until you own up to what you did and what they did and whatever anybody else did, nothing's going to change, you know. And I noticed that, and I've realized that it's hard to forgive yourself for things that you did. It's one of the hardest things, and I'm not perfect. I'm still dealing with it. I'm still dealing with everything that I have to deal with. I'm still dealing with things that I did to people, and I feel bad every single day because I hurt people. I've betrayed people. I've done things that I'm just not proud of. You know, I never hurt anybody to the point where they weren't existing or not here, or just, you know, like they won't ever speak to me again. And that's fine. I understand, because, you know, it's a lot of people that they say that I did them wrong, but they did me wrong too. But they don't want to bring that up. You know, you want to sit there and you want to bring up all of the bad shit I did. But what about all the times that I helped you out? What about all the times that I helped you get up? You know, you don't mention none of that. You just mention, oh, you dirtbag ass nigga, this and that, you know, and this and this and that. No, I don't, you know, this and I don't owe you nothing, but you owe me everything. And it's funny how people change around, and they, you know, all of a sudden they They want to make themselves the good person whenever you're not around to defend yourself. That's why I don't like talking about people whenever they're not around. Because if that person's not there to defend themselves, then you have no right talking about them right then and there. But everybody does it anyways. The majority of people, they do it anyways. But yeah, it's just crazy. Then I was thinking about this the other day, and it was everything that I went through as a homeless person. Like I said in my other video, as people still, whenever you have nothing, people still want to take everything you got. As a result, for me, I got shot the first time when I was 17. Just out there, being in the game, doing this, doing that. Some guys try to rob us, and we were just kids, man. We were just kids, and these dudes were like the age that I am now. And they came up and thought that we were going to be an easy target, and they found out real quick that it wasn't. They shot me, but thank God that I had a vest on. They hit me, it still went through. Still hurt. Don't matter what anybody says. And then the second time I got shot in the ankle, and that was just a result of everybody sitting there nodding out and being all high. You can't even keep yourself, awake or anything like that. The dude had his hand on his pistol, and it went off, boom. And we all kind of ducked down, but ricocheted off of something and hit me in the ankle, and that was crazy. Third time I got shot in the thigh, 9mm bullet still in there, and some dudes tried to rob me at my camp, and this was just a few years back. They tried to rob me at my camp when I had nothing already. And, they hit me with the 9mm. I got into a fight with them, and I had to limp all the way to my partner's camp just to get some duct tape and some Epsom salt. Ended up healing up. But yeah, it's crazy, people's greed. Don't get me wrong, though. There's a lot of people, too, out there that are really good people that they took me in when they had nothing, And I just, my hat's off to them. They have my full respect. I love these people. I'll never forget these people. I mentioned them in one of my last videos. There's a bunch of the homies from Grant right there, Grant and Silver Bell and Grant and I-10. I was on the south side a lot. Just things were just not going well for me, until finally I got arrested. And when I was arrested, and I'm sitting there in county, and I'm like, this ain't the spot for me, man. Like, this is horrible. This is just not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. I'm such and such years old already. And people kept telling me, yo, Los, you got a knack for talking to people, man. So I kind of switched up everything about myself and started meditating, started praying, and believing and trusting in God, manifesting and speaking into existence what I wanted to change in my life. And ever since I've been doing that, like, life has been so different for me. I have a place to stay, have a house now, car. My job everything's going well, my training, everything. Like I said, I graduated second in my class. I got a 98. The first person got 100. Shout out to Elizabeth and Shauna. And my teacher, Amy Sylvia. She's the one that showed us everything. Very thorough, very great teacher. She's at Just One Life. But yeah, I got a few more classes that I'm gonna go through with them, graduate, and I just need my fingerprint clearance. That's the only thing that's holding me back right now. But I'm gonna get it, and I just wanted to holler at you guys. I'm gonna let this be for right now. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hitting me up. Please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. You guys do that. King Los, you guys. I love you guys. God bless you guys. I hope everybody that even considers themselves my enemy forgives me and forgives himself. If you hold on to too much from the past, it's going to eat you up. I know that for a fact. I got to sit here and think about things, so many different things that mess with my head, a lot. And it's just something that you got to do, not for anybody else, but for yourself. If you don't do it for yourself, then nothing's ever gonna work out. You got to let go of that hate, that pain, that the failure that you thought you were, because we're not. None of us are failures. We're just on the wrong path. You got to sit there and think about everything everybody told you, but just think about what you really are. Any of us can overcome addiction. If I did it, anybody can do it. Till the next time, you guys. Love you guys. King Los Legends. Hit me up. Let me know what's good. You guys can call me. You guys can email me. I'm here for anything. Just hit me up. You know, even if you guys are sober and you think you're gonna relapse, hit me up. Send me some messages. I'm gonna put my phone number. I'm gonna start a TikTok today. I'm gonna start a TikTok. You guys are gonna see it. Hit me up on there. I'm gonna put my phone number. You guys are free to call me. Anybody that wants to share their story right here in Tucson, anywhere in Arizona, anywhere in the world, just hit me up, man. Just we can chop it up. You don't have to say your name. You don't have to say who you are. I don't have to have you on camera. If you want to, then that, you know, that more power to you. I'm with it. We can do an interview. Just hit me up and let's talk about your struggles. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there with great stories. So just hit me up. I love you guys. Peace out.